What's up, man? It's your big brother K-Rino. I say this every time I start a video, but I just feel comfortable saying it. Y'all see the title, and quite naturally, I want to kind of preface everything with what motivated me to do this particular topic. Of course, it was when I saw the news that broke about Miss Jacqueline Avant, the wife of the legend Clarence Avant. And I won't go into all of the history behind Brother Clarence. I will let y'all look that up yourselves, because I think that if you're not familiar with who he is and you look him up, then you'll be very impressed with his resume. But you know, he stands today at 90 years old, and his wife, Miss Jacqueline Avant, was murdered today in a home invasion at the age of 81. At the age of 81 years old. And in a home invasion, if I didn't mention that already. Now, I don't know a lot of the details on how it played itself out and all that, but that's what motivated me to do this topic, because I'm not sure if the people who carried out the home invasion knew whose home they were invading. But I got to speak to the topic of people who prey on the weak. And you're talking about an 81-year-old woman. And it's not just Mrs. Avant who we speak about, who've been victims of this type of violence, but just in everyday life, you have individuals who are walking the streets, individuals who are at home planning and plotting to carry out acts of crime and acts of violence, and they plot and plan to carry them out against people who they feel like they have an easy win over, people who they will not get much or any resistance from. And those people usually fall under the category of elderly, physically disabled, young children, if you have like sexual predators and human traffickers and things of that nature, and people who may be sick and in a weakened state, women who may live alone, or women who have been watched by certain predators who watch them for a period of time, and then they study their patterns, their travel patterns. They watch them as they go to work. They know exactly what time they leave and come and go, and they do their homework on how to eventually victimize somebody who's physically weaker than them. These are the worst types of people, man, on the planet. They rate up there with in the top 2 or 3 of the worst types of people that you ever come across on the planet, because they express their cowardice in the acts that they commit. While it's not good to rob and stalk and kill anybody and assault anybody, it's doubly weak, especially weak, when you seek after those who you consider to be weak, or those who are actually weaker or weak in society, who can't defend themselves in the proper way. And the lack of compassion, lack of remorse that these kind of people have. Because when I think about Miss Avant, I don't know how it played out, but I do feel confident that if they were coming in to do a home invasion and rob or whatever, they did not have to take a life. They didn't have to take a life. That's just something that they chose to do for whatever reason. And there's no justifiable reason to rob them, to invade the home, but it's definitely no justifiable reason for them to take that woman's life. And it's terrible because here you have a woman who had lived by today's standards a very long life. There are people who make it to 75, 80 years old and may eventually die of what they term to be natural causes. And people will say, well, you know, he or she had a good life. But to my knowledge, she was not in that condition. So there was no plan, or there was no scenario where she was sick or anything of that nature. So her life was cut short despite being on this planet for 8 decades. These are the worst kind of people. And I'm of the belief, man, that, you know, people like that, man, whatever they get is what they get. It's what they have coming, man. Whatever they get, I don't mean if they get away with it or if they get a light sentence or whatever. Whatever extreme punishment that they get, man. And I'm also of the belief that even though this is not a law, but I believe in street justice for people like that, man. I believe in the people, the citizens, the family. And I know this might sound crazy to some people, but I just believe that people like that should be turned over to the family. And if the family is in that mind frame to take those matters into their hands like that, man, then whatever happens to folks like that, man, in my eyes is justified. But it's just me talking. Don't tag that into any other ideologies or doctrines. That's just something that goes through my head. But it's a terrible thought process. It's a sick-minded individual who does things like that, man. You see it on the streets. You see people who will snatch a purse or will rob an elderly person at knife point or at gun point. And even if they don't assault them or kill them, they just saw an easy win dealing with that person. They just saw an easy win. You the lowest of the low, man. I don't really have a lot of words. I'm not going to be on here real long. But it's like the animal kingdom. In the animal kingdom, that's what animals do. Animals look at the easy win. Now, if they are in packs, they might say, man, let's try to take down this buffalo. There's 5 or 6 of us. We can team up and take down this buffalo. But if they got a chance to take down a baby gazelle or something that's kind of easy to get, then that's what they're going to do. Unfortunately, in this society, humans have taken on the mental appetite and the mental characteristics of animals and have become beasts in human form to where they think the same exact way. They have the same thought in terms of how they get what it is they get when they're out here on these streets. It's weak, man. That is weak. And we've reduced ourselves to that. We've degenerated down to that level, that low level And now we don't have any problem victimizing elderly, women, babies, children, handicapped, sick, in whatever category you look and find out that you think you got a chance. It's not about just celebrities that this happened to a celebrity, the wife of a celebrity, of a well-known person. Because we all know if you live in the city, if you live in any city, we know that happens all the time. We watch the news, we see these things happen all the time. And that's why we have to become protectors of our communities, man. That's why we have to become protectors of our own communities. Because a lot of times we go back to the old school, neighbors looked out for neighbors. And it don't matter if you lived in a mansion, a gated community, or the hood, or whatever. I mean, I'm speaking about a principle. People say, well, they lived in that's probably why they were targeted. Yeah, I know how that goes too. But I'm speaking about a principle that is kind of lost in this day and age, where if something didn't look right, the neighborhood stood up and rallied around and it came together, and you couldn't even. I remember times, man, when you're young, you might ride through apartment complex, and you say, hey, man, Keisha live around here? You'd be like, man, who is you? What you looking for Keisha for? What you looking for? Matter of fact, it ain't got to be Keisha. You could be looking for one of your homeboys. Hey, man, Paul, that's Paul's house right there. And in your mind, you like, well, I'm looking for Paul for real. But in their mind, it's like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you coming to do to Paul. And people would really step to you and check you like, hold on, wait a minute. Then Paul come outside me. Oh, he good. Okay, man, I'm just checking. See, that's a beautiful thing to me. I love that. I think that that's how it should be. Because more times than not, in this particular day and age, we are more so individualized to where we just kind of come in, mind our own business, do what we do, and that, I understand that too, because sometimes you got to watch the people you live around. So it's messed up all the way around, but there still has to be some kind of unity and some kind of unified collective connection that you have with the people who live around you, because we have to serve as protectors of each other. Even if it's something as simple as just keeping an eye on your neighbor's house when they go out of town. You see them packing up stuff and they getting ready to go out of town. You may not even have to communicate that verbally to them. Hey, man, when you're gone, I'm gonna keep you. You may not even say that unless you already have a relationship with them. But you may not even know them that good, but you just have it set in your mind that, oh, okay, I see my neighbor they're going on a trip. I see him and his family packing up. I'm gonna make sure that I just keep an eye as I'm going in and out, or as I'm at home. I'll kind of peek and make sure nothing shady is going on. And that's what a neighbor is. That's what being neighborly is about. It ain't about just walking outside. Hey, how you doing? It's about having each other's backs, because the time is gonna come when you're gonna go out of town for a few days. The time is gonna come where you may leave and have to leave your younger children at the crib. I ain't talking about little babies. I'm talking about they may be 12, 13 years old. old enough at that age where they can stay at home by themselves a few hours till you get back, but still needing some type of adult checking just in case. Hey man, if some get too overwhelming for you, go knock on Miss Johnson's door and hey, don't just, things of that nature. And especially when it relates to our elders, our elderly. You live next to somebody that's older, you keep an eye on them, especially if they live alone, especially if it's an elderly couple, because we have to look out for each other. We have to make sure, Miss Johnson, y'all good over here? Y'all all right? I'm just checking on y'all, just making sure. We have to do that. Because what if it was your mother? What if it was your aunt or whoever the case is, but you're not around? You may live in another city, may live on the other side of town. It's comforting to have a neighborhood of people who will look out and check on your mama. They'll check on your mama for you. That's comforting. And what we got to understand is that even if you have like all the security systems and all that, I'm sure they may have had in the Avant household, I'm assuming that they may have had things in place in terms of security measures. But even if they didn't, it just speaks to the point that doesn't guarantee, that still don't save you. And we don't know what led up to that. But in these particular cases, man, they can be random. Because sometimes people just link up and get in the car and we're just going to ride through this neighborhood and see who we can get, see what's going on. Okay, they blinds is open. You can see right in their house. But sometimes it's planned. Over time, they planning it, they plotting it. We don't know. But these are cowards, man. And I'm going to let y'all in on a little secret. Anytime that I hear about somebody trying to do something like that to somebody, trying to harm somebody, rob them, break in their house, and then you find out that the person who tried to break in the house and rob somebody, that they get killed or beat up bad, the tables get turned on them, I love it. I love it. When I hear stories like that, I love it. Because you ain't had no business trying to do that in the first place. And sometimes you prey on the weak, but sometimes you prey on individuals who you thought was weak. And then it reverses on you. The tables turn. And when I hear stories like that, man, those stories like that make my day. Stories like that make my day. Because you have no business. People, see, one thing that aggravates me, man, more than anything, is seeing people who decide that they too lazy, they too sorry to work and build and go get things of their own for themselves, so they just gonna take somebody else's in one swoop. Can't stand people like that. People work hard for the things that they have, and you decide, hey, I'm just gonna take what they got. You're the worst. And again, they go after the weak. Like a bully, but just on a higher scale. A bully is gonna prey on somebody who they look at and say, okay, that's an easy win. I can get an easy win on him. I can get an easy win on her. He's not gonna fight back. She's not gonna resist. And I can just get in, get out. That's the mentality. People who prey on little children, kidnap little children, and traffic little children and young girls and boys. People who rob old folks. Let's see what y'all talking about, man. We're not getting off subject tonight, y'all. So please don't come in here asking me questions about something that is not on this topic. When I do open topic, then feel free. But we're not going to get off this topic because we got to deal with this, man. Angel said, I wake up 4:30 a.m. every day to make sure my bills and kids are taken care of. So let's hope and pray God watches over. Yeah, let's hope and pray that God watches over us all, and that we watch over ourselves, and that we watch over each other. Cover yourself and cover your family at the same time. See? We are talking about cowards and those who prey on the weak. We're not talking about anything music related. Not answering any music questions tonight. Not answering any questions that are off this topic. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, make your own neighborhoods a safe and decent place to live. That is part of it, to make your neighborhood safe and decent. Decency covers a range of things. Decency doesn't just cover picking up trash. Doesn't just cover painting or beautifying old buildings. It represents that, but it also represents protection and security. Talk to elderly people if they need anything. Some of them aren't even able to buy simple groceries. True indeed. But also, it's funny that we having this conversation, because I was talking to my homie the other day, and he was telling me about how one time his wife was coming home from somewhere, and she recognized that this cat was following her in his car behind her. And when she recognized that the guy was following her, she immediately called her husband, which is my homeboy, and told him, hey, I think this dude is following me. And she, of course, this is what you do. What does everybody do when you think somebody's following, when you know somebody's following? No, when you suspect that somebody's following you, one of the first things that we do is what? What do we do? See if you're from the hood. Let me see how many people on here got their hood senses. When you riding around and you suspect that somebody in the car behind you is following you, what is the first thing that you do? Y'all taking too long to answer, so I'm gonna answer. The first thing that you do, come on, Ali, you start turning in places that you don't really turn. You start turning. Let me make this random left. Okay, boom. They made that random left. Okay, let me make this quick right. Oh, they made that quick right too. Let me pull in this driveway and act like I'm turning around and then whip back by them. They whip around and get back. Okay, he's following me now. She's following me now. So she did some of that. The guy was still behind her, followed her all the way to her own driveway, which we talked about. That was like, hey, don't never lead nobody to your house. But my point is to have that kind of mindset that I'm just going to follow this person everywhere this person goes, not knowing what you're leading yourself into. It's a fool. But all he saw was whatever objective that he had in his mind, and what he saw was a woman by herself, riding by herself, and he saw what he believed was going to be an easy win, whatever it is he had in his mind to do. Until my homie came outside, and then he can't stand people like that. They get whatever they got coming. Be ready for them. Sarah Abdullah Lowry says, I've been followed before by men. One time I jumped in the bushes and hid for an hour. I never let my teen daughter walk along. Yeah, I mean, definitely. See, in this day and age, man, as a woman, man, you can't be just out there like that. And people say, well, I'm not scared. I'm not afraid. That's not the point. It don't have nothing to do with you being scared or not being scared. It's just common sense. Don't put yourself in knowingly in a position that you don't have to put yourself in. Whatever the things that you have to do throughout the course of that day, get them done that day. No, I'm gonna wait till 12 o'clock at night to walk to the store. No, don't do that. Use common sense. If you didn't make it, if you didn't get what you had to get from the store, sister, hey, get it tomorrow. But the reality is that the cowards, they doing it in broad daylight. So you have to just have your antenna up and your levels of protection in place. You have to be ready. And men, as men, and I know the women ain't gonna like this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. And a lot of women may not like this because of the way society has shaped their minds. But as men, we're supposed to be the protectors of our women. So we have to let them know, no, you're not going to be out in the streets at all times of the night. No, you're not going to walk down to Teresa's house real quick at 10:30. No, you're not going to do that. And if we argue about it, we argue about it. And if it reaches to the point where it gets to where I can't give you the understanding of why you shouldn't do this, and you adamant about doing it, then we got to go our separate ways. Because it's to protect you. But the like I say, society has shaped it to where the independence of a woman, number one, has been forced on them. So it's not their fault. But if a man is there, hey man, line yourself up under that protection. Because there's some of these dudes that don't care nothing about protecting the woman. Okay, well, do whatever you do. See you when you get back. See? If a woman does not want to fall under the umbrella of the protection that you are providing or you're offering for her, you gotta go your separate ways. Let her go. And to the females, if you dealing with a dude who won't protect you, let him go. You got to move around. How many of y'all watch Rick and Morty? Seems like I'm changing the subject, but I'm not. How many of y'all watch Rick and Morty? Shout out to Gavin Christopher. I appreciate the love, Gavin. Thank you, man. There was an episode of Rick and Morty one time where the dad and the mom was at a grocery store, and some dude was chasing after them, and the daddy outran the mama and jumped in the car and locked the door and left his wife outside with the dude who was about to assault her. And she's like, unlock the door. And he's like, no, no. That's how some dudes are. So as a woman, why would you subject yourself to being with a dude who's not willing to lay it all down on the line to protect you? And protection is not always in the form of in the face of an altercation in a situation. Of course, in that moment, it's live action now. Okay, now what? But protection is also a preemptive move as well. In other words, like I just said, doing things and implementing I don't want to say rules, but I'll use rules for lack of a better term, implementing household rules or relationship rules that dictate, hey, as your dude, I don't want you out ripping and running and walking the streets and going to the spot at 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm at the after hours, it's 4 in the morning, I'm hanging out, I'm drunk, I'm running. No, that ain't how we roll. And if she gets upset, she's not recognizing the care that you're showing for her. If she misconstrues it and say, oh, you ain't gonna control me. I don't let nobody tell me what to do. You trying to control me. You ain't gonna keep me. No, you don't understand. This have right over your head. So when that's the response, and you explain it, gotta let them go. Does no good to argue, trying to protect you. The world is crazy. There are people out here. You're not the first one to feel like, I ain't scared, I'm independent, I'm grown, I come and go, I'm a grown woman. You're not the first one to think like that and something happened to them. Not the first one to think like that. Okay, we know you're grown. Okay, we know you're not scared. You may be independent to a degree. But it's my job to try to protect you. Some women want that kind of protection and they don't have a dude who's willing to give it. Same rule apply. It's balance. Bye, dude. You end up protecting him. So I don't know all the details of what happened to Miss Jacqueline Avant. And the truth of the matter is sometimes you can do everything right, and sometimes you can have everything in place and an understanding between you and your significant other, because they have been together since 1967. They've been together before probably everybody on this chat was born, including me. So obviously they've had a long-standing relationship that's been over 50 years. So at the end of the day, we don't know. At the end of the day, what I'm saying is sometimes you can do everything right and it still goes left. You can do everything right and it still goes left, but you still have to do the best that you can, man. And if you encounter one of those situations, man, where you went into one of those cowards, man, say a prayer and punish that cat to the fullest extent of your power. The fullest extent of your power, man. That's like a free pass to get out all your aggression. You see somebody doing something to a little child or something. You see somebody accosting an elderly person. Boy, that's when you got a free pass. you got a free pass. At least that's my view. You handle it how you feel to handle it. I ain't trying to put the key in nobody's back. I'm just telling you, man. I don't like people like that at all. See what y'all talking about. Animals in human form. What kind of mindset do you have to just, what kind of low level thoughts about yourself do you have to have? You have to know in your mind that you're weak when your first thought is to prey on somebody that you feel is weaker than you. It's an easy win. Got to show some love, man. Y'all drop y'all locations. Drop your locations for your big brother real quick. Told you I ain't gonna hold y'all long. Let me know where y'all at. Drop your locations and any thoughts that y'all have on this subject. Y'all ain't saying too much. Y'all ain't got too much to say, especially as it relates to the male-female aspect of that. That's a delicate subject because weak men don't want to address it, and women don't like to hear that kind of talk because they take it as ain't no man gonna tell me what to do. Yep. Chandler, Arizona. Motherwell, Scotland. Scotland in the building, man. Dallas, Texas. Macedonia, Netherlands. Man, we all over the world. We going international tonight. We always go international, but we coming out the gate international. Lancaster, California, Colorado, Nashville, Ohio, Columbus, Louisville, G County, dollar bill. Did you hit me, dollar bill? Eunice, Louisiana, Wyoming, Ethiopia, double salute, Simi Valley. Man, we all over the world, man. That's good. I see you, Jamarcus. Arkansas, Arizona. It's heartbreaking, man. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. That is a heartbreaking thing, man. A heartbreaking thing, man. This woman lived her whole life in some, I don't even have a word to describe who would do something like that to any woman. 81-year-old woman, man. They didn't have to do that, man. Man. Family structure is the most important feature of a strong and safe community. That's an absolute fact. Odiazo, ODS. I hope I'm pronouncing it. That's an absolute fact. The building of the family structure is what are building blocks to a strong community. When the family is broke down, then the community is weak. So even the person who carries out such an act, they come from a broken structure. And there are things that you can look at and say, well, man, he's a product or she's a product of the environment that they came up in, or whatever the case might be. And certain things, okay, well, he got on drugs. Well, he may have sold some drugs here and there, but he got caught up. Or he went to jail for this or something, like he stole something. But that level there, man, I can't give you no pass on that one, man. Come on, man. My family was destroyed in a matter of years because my father was preying on the weak. I spent so many years trying to convince him from the truth. Well, and that's another good point to look at also, because sometimes those who prey on the weak are not just outside of the family. These are people that are right in your household. A man who beats his wife, a man or woman who abuses their children. You're preying on the weak. You have innocent children who absolutely have no chance against you and have not even done anything to you, but just your life is so messed up that you are taking out all of your anger and your frustrations and your failures and your aggression on your wife, on your children, on your husband. It's women who beat men. Am I lying? If you got a weak man, there are women who will beat a dude. I was just watching a video of this young couple that everybody's been watching, and man, this girl beating the hell out this dude. She'll just haul off and slap him. I forgot their name, but she'll just haul off and slap the dude. I mean, I saw one video, she was just on top of him, just bing, bing, just bing, just dropping haymakers on him. That's a dysfunctional situation, to say the least. People will prey on the weak. And a lot of times when we take it inside the household, and we're going to transition into that level of it, because we want to cover all of it. Things like this always start with that initial lash out, that initial act of aggression that goes unchecked. So whether it's a man to a woman or a woman to a man, if the first time something happens and whoever just shut up, nothing happens, then the thought is like, so I slapped her and she didn't do nothing. She didn't tell nobody. She didn't try to fight me back. She just did this and cried and went to the room, and I'm going to do it again. He's going to do it again. She's going to do it again. Because people are not in the moment. See, a lot of times you knew the person was weak when you got with them. That's the only reason you was able to get with them, because you weak too. So you have to get somebody that's on a lower level of self-esteem and weaker than you, because you can't get nobody that's higher than you. You ain't built like that. So the actual point is that, okay, well, yeah, I see why he was abusive or she was abusive, because she targeted somebody that she could get away with abusing, or he could get away with abusing. Then they coexist. Like Tina P said, that's craziness. They coexist because they are feeding each other's sickness. I don't have enough self-esteem to where I believe I can do better than this person, so I just continue to let them abuse me because I can't do better. How you know you can't do better? Well, he told me I couldn't do better. He told me I wasn't nothing. But guess who else told her she wasn't nothing? Her mama. See, these are cycles. You don't just wake up one day and be like that. People prey on the weak and target the weak. And unfortunately, there are people out there who are skilled in recognizing the types of people that they can manipulate and use. It's just like a scammer. From a business point of view, there are people who scam people out of money, and there are people who do dirty business deals with people and take advantage of those who may be ignorant in certain situations. Well, you know, I'm just, ma'am, Miss Lois, it's gonna take about $10,000. And okay, well, I guess I got to do it. And yes, ma'am, we're gonna take care of everything and just sign here. Just we write the check. And okay, well, I guess I better and scam Miss Lois out of $10,000 because nobody's around to protect her. Nobody's around to say, hey, who's that guy that was at your house? What's going on? Well, he told me he'd fix my roof for me. Really? Come to find out he don't even have a roofing company. Just you paid him advance. He took people prey on the weak in all different kind of areas, man. Conquest, television, media, law, war, president, homie. We got to love each other more, man. Love ain't just about saying it. Ain't about words. Love is an action word. Love is a verb that we have to show to people and demonstrate it in our actions, demonstrate it in our movements, and demonstrate it in the way that we treat each other. You can talk it all day. You can talk it all day. I see you, Joseph. Y'all on one tonight, boy. But I will say that until it visits you, sometimes we don't take stuff like this seriously, man. Till it visits you. Things like this should anger us. Things like this should drive us. It should anger us, man. Kaba Praxis, I appreciate the love, man. Thank you for the love. Appreciate the donation. Tina Peter OG. I'll say goodnight to Tina Peter OG. Science says the children would do worse without their original father and have apathy for life their entire life. They act like it's easy to give up the dad for extortion, money, child support. Is that ex-conos? There's a reason everything happens. Yeah, there is a reason everything happens. Absolutely. But the reason doesn't justify the action. The reason that something happens is not a justification of the action itself. So even if we can say, even if we can speak about the conditions that we came up in, if it was hard, or my mom abused me, my daddy abused me, or I came up in this environment and this is what they did, and the conditions don't justify the actions. Now they may be a bridge to the action, but at a certain point we develop levels of common sense and levels of understanding that we know there are certain things that we should not be doing. We know that the treatment of people, the mistreatment of people, is something we should not be participating in. But you also have people who grow into a mind, or they develop a mind, or somehow they have a mind of what they call the sociopaths. People who are sociopaths, they commit some of the worst acts known to man against people, and they don't feel anything about it. You see them in court, they just like, dude done killed 15 people, chopped them up, and he in court like, if y'all would have let me out tomorrow, I'd do it again. They have no feeling of remorse for what they do. And there are others who develop that type of mentality simply because so some of the most terrible things were done to them, and it made them numb to having any type of sympathy for anybody else. So I get that. But that don't justify you killing no old people, man, and molesting children. And that don't justify you doing that, man. And when you get got, you'll get what you deserve. I'm seeing less and less love in the world. The more people acquire, the more selfish they get. Leonard Green. But also, Leonard, the less that people are able to acquire, the more vicious they get. Because this is sometimes these are matters of just condition. Poverty and crime go hand in hand. Impoverished conditions lead directly to crime because people are desperate, people in survival mode. But stealing to eat, even robbing to eat, as terrible as that is, well, let me say it like this. Somebody in a bad situation, man, they steal some food to survive or steal some money to get them something to eat. While we know it's wrong, to the act of stealing is something that you can look at and say, well, man, he reached a point where he was in desperation, and he's not that kind of person, and that's all he did. He didn't try to kill nobody. He just wanted something to eat. But when you rob somebody, man, you could have just went on about your way, man. That's tough, man. And you rob yourself. Because, fool, you're going to get a whole lot more time or the death penalty for the murder on top of the robbery than just you would have for the robbery. And I ain't trying to compromise with no robbers by saying that. It seems people are completely losing their humanity. Absolutely. We in that time. Mrs. 1R100. Got to rise above the pain and hurt that was endured and make sure those wrongs aren't done to others. Yeah, it sounds good, but rising above requires actions within that. Detailed actions. It ain't just rising above, just saying we're rising above. It's like you actually have to put in the work. We have to get out in the community and deal with our young brothers and sisters. And the last point that I'll make is, because I know a lot of people may speak on in terms of when it relates to celebrities, somebody will always say, well, man, it might have been a hit. Might not have been just a typical home invasion. It might have been a hit, a planned hit by something behind the scenes and blah, 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 blah. These things happen. But until we know for sure, President Brisbane says, instead of a society of punishment, we instead need a society of reward. Much like you don't punish a police dog to get it to do what you want. Why would you punish people? Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. President. What are we rewarding people? You want to reward a murderer? Make me understand what you're saying. You're saying a society of punishment. What are you trying to reward? No matter what action is committed? Make me understand, because maybe I'm missing, maybe I'm not understanding where you're coming from, or you're speaking in a different context. Because punishment usually comes after an act is committed that wasn't a good act, right? So if somebody commits a dirty act, there's no reward for that, man. Can't reward you for that. So make me understand what you mean, or if that maybe it is what you mean. Maybe you feel like you want to bless people with kindness no matter how terrible they are. And you say you don't punish a police dog to get it to do it. Why'd you say a police dog? You could have said a dog in general. Why would you punish people? There are people, look, none of us are perfect. We all fall short of the glory of God. Some of us fall long. But you don't just let people do what they want to, anything they want to do. That's a fantasy world. You have to uphold basic rights in the case of a killer. So a killer has to be separated from society. So basically, you are allowing a killer, in your ideology, you are saying that the killer has basic rights after taking a life, after unjustifiably taking a life, and you just separate them from society, and that is, I won't even say punishment enough, because you said they shouldn't be punished. That is that's the end of it all. And when you separate them from society, then what? Where are you taking them? What's required of them once you separate them from society? And what consolation or what type of comfort is that to the family of the victim that he murdered? It seems as though you're giving the killers a pass. If you know the entire prison industrial complex is unconstitutional, so it means you no longer put men in the cage. Where you put it? Where are you putting them? I understand the prison industrial complex, but I also know that there should be justice carried out against certain people. When I think of this prison industrial complex, I think about that aspect of it that is used in order to be a business model and disproportionately lock up people of color. And when you have people who commit certain crimes and commit lesser crimes and receive greater punishment. But in this particular case, I'm talking about some cat that killed your mama. So what if that was your grandmother? And I'm not saying, I'm just asking the question. Would you speak on behalf of the murderer of your grandmother to say, well, Judge, I don't think he should be put in a cage. I think he should be separated from society. But I still want to know, you say killers go on an island, but live a normal life? Hey, man. You say killers should go on an island, but live normal lives without bars. Well, let me ask you this here. Weren't they living normal lives without bars before they unjustly killed somebody? They were already living without bars. They were free. They chose to make a decision. So you put the killers on an island, nobody living a normal life, and the killers start killing each other. Did you think this all the way through? The killer, then he kills somebody else. Somebody kills him. Well, you take him then to another island. Oh, he killed somebody on the first. Killer Island. We got to take them to Killer Island 2 now. Come on, man. We got to be more. We living in a fantasy world. I'll tell you what I do. You don't appeal to the vindictive side of human nature. If you understand basic rights, it means cops can't shoot and kill. You have your baby at term and execution is banned. You saying understanding basic rights, and then you laid out to say, well, cops can't shoot and kill, but they do. See? It's not the vindictive side. It's not necessarily, it may be some vindictiveness in there, but this is about justice. This is about, see, retaliation is a law of God. That's in the nature of the human. If I slap you across your head, I'm sure you're not going to go, oh, well, I'm not going to be vindictive about this. Come on, man. That don't line up. See, you're speaking about a idea that you have in your head that is, in my mind, it's a fantasy. But the reality is, like I said, cops do kill people, particularly black people. People do go out and commit murder. So the person who goes out and commits the murder, you still haven't addressed what type of consolation that the family will receive after their loved one is murdered. While you've taken the murderer of their loved one and safely transported them to an island to live what you said, what you described as a normal life. You didn't mention mental rehabilitation. Didn't even mention counseling, which I like to say, I ain't trying to hear all that. I'm just playing your game. Didn't mention, let's try to see if we can redeem this person. It's just take him on an island, get him safely out of the way, because he is being now treated like the victim. You say it's being Christ-like. See, now you're stepping into something, because for the longest time, that has been one of the biggest misconceptions when you talk about the man we call Jesus, the Christ. That's being Christ-like, as if Jesus was just some weak, punkish little dude that just, y'all just do anything to me and do anything you want to do and all is forgiven. That's not the Jesus that I subscribe to. See, mercy has its place. We all need mercy, but mercy has its place. At some point, the act is so heinous. So let's translate. Let's transfer over from the killers for a minute, President. What about the child molesters? What's your view on the child molesters? Do they go to an island? You walk in and some cat is touching on your 4-year-old daughter? What do you do? What is the Christ-like thing to do in that situation? I'd love to hear your response on that. So you can't give everybody no pass. He didn't steal a car. Well, he was 16 and stole a car. Your Honor, could you please give him a chance? We think that he's a good kid. Nah, that's a different level. See? So your child's getting molested. You're being Christ-like now? What's the Christ-like thing to do? You know what I think Jesus would do if he walked in and seen somebody molesting a little baby? I think Jesus would kill him. A lot of y'all ain't gonna like that. I think Jesus, if he walked in and saw somebody committing an act like that, I believe that Jesus would kill him. See, if you know your Bible and it talks about the return of Christ, right? Jesus came back with a sword, and the sword was dripping with blood. What? Jesus? No, not Jimmy from Third Ward. Jesus came back. When he came back, because we all talk about, oh, he's coming back. He's coming back. What are you going to come back and do? He came back and started tearing up the temple. Who is this man that y'all done watered down? Y'all watered him down. Jesus ain't no punk. He had a sword dripping with blood. Did he find it on the ground? Somebody had already used it, and he picked it up and was like, whoa, this sword's got blood on it. No, it was his sword. We're not going to lie on Jesus like that and make him soft like that. Lord of Truth said he's coming back to execute judgment. He ain't coming back to sing. He ain't coming back to sit in the church and clap and Lord of Truth, you know the truth. He said he's coming back to execute judgment. Nay, a sword. See? Corinne, miles a minute. He wasn't a pacifist. Come on now. Y'all ain't finna punctify Jesus, man. Y'all ain't gonna punctify the man. Jesus was galactic Bluetooth connected. Jesus was a G. Without question. We've been presented that. And see, that's what makes us weak in our approach to life. That's what makes us soft in terms of like when things like this happen. That's why you see us in the courtroom praying and saying, I forgive the killer of my whole family, because we've been taught that this is the mindset of God, and this is how God wants us to think about people who've been absolute enemy to us. Got me messed up. You don't kill my loved one and get a prayer on my behalf, on your behalf from me. You don't get that. Okay, well, I don't know what Chief Seattle philosophy is, but we done got off the rails now. Because you can't slide that in on me. You can't slide that in on me. Blessings to everyone, man. In the family of our brother Clarence Avant and the loss of his wife, and cowards who prey on the weak. Cowards who prey on the weak. I can't respect. Can you respect somebody who thinks like that? Because you got to sit down and form that out in your mind. You got to say, man, I know where all them old people be at, man. All we got to do is just push her down, take a purse, hit her upside the head. You deserve what you get when you're doing that, bro. Christ ain't gonna condone that. Try to put that on him. Christ ain't gonna show up and say, no, stop, don't hurt him. I Am Mr. says his name wasn't Jesus, nor was he black. Well, you got one of them right. His name wasn't Jesus, but he was absolutely black. You're right about, yeah, you got the first, Bob Barker, you got the first part right. You 50-50. But we're not going to get off the subject. Notorious said if God didn't believe in punishment, see, that's a good point. God punishes his enemies. God is spoken of as having enemies in the scripture. See, we've been fed, we've been sold some magic beans, man, and it has shaped our mind and our actions in terms of how we move throughout everyday life. Because we feel like if we defend ourselves, we're not being Christ-like. We feel like if we protect our family, if we harm somebody that's trying to harm us or harm our family, then we're not being Christ-like. You mess around and tell me a story about somebody was trying to assault your wife, and you tell me that you messed him up. I'm gonna laugh and celebrate with you. Man, this dude grabbed my wife by the arm, man. I beat the hell out of him. Man, I tried to break his arm. He in the hospital right now. Man, I'm gonna laugh and celebrate with you. I'm gonna congratulate you. I'm gonna dap you up and say, yeah, you boy, yeah. I ain't gonna say, ooh, man, you better go home and I don't know, man. Come on now. One love to y'all, man. I'll catch y'all later on. Peace.